Greetings, Transformers fans. Welcome to the 6th day of Prey in the Power of the Primes Predaking series. And today we're going to be combining all 5 of these Predacons, which we've taken an in-depth look at in parts 1 through 5. This is a Patreon special missions request courtesy of Michael Choi from the Patreon tribe. And I'm sure Michael wasn't expecting an 8-part saga, but just too much going on here for one video. So part 6 today is Predaking, as well as a couple of comparisons of the Predacons with each other, both in robot and beast mode. And this set is still available at Big Bad Toy Store. And before we take a look at all of the individual Predacons and start combining them, I did want to give you a closer look at the box as well as some of the paperwork that was included. And here is the box. It's got some beautiful custom artwork of Predaking, just ferocious looking, taking on a bunch of Autobots down there, and some graphics on the front. He is a Voyager class of the 5 Predacons. Same artwork on the side, and then on the back you actually have to stand it up this way. Goes the other way, and it gives you a measurement of how tall he is. We've really got to do something about that waist. That's way too thin. Luckily, the third-party add-on, which I'll be taking a look at in the final part, part 8, we'll be able to do something about that. And they're also showing off his Onyx Matrix. And they're also showing off the Matrix gimmick that Razorclaw has, as well as Predaking as well, because Razorclaw's chest is Predaking's chest. And then the 5 individual Predacons running down the box, showing you robot and beast mode. There was some paperwork included as well, sticker sheet, and not too many left to go. There's actually a couple that need to be applied when he's been combined. So sticker sheet, as well as a very in-depth instruction manual. This is big, even if it didn't unfold, but this whole thing opens up into this giant instruction manual with transformation instructions for all 5 Predacons, as well as how to combine them into Predaking, as well as the sticker map. And then this is also included. I don't normally see these in the Transformers that I buy, but this is the artwork from the front of the box, and it's just kind of like a cardstock. Power of the Primes Prime Master map. Kind of a catalog looking thing that tells you who each guy is, what their powers are. Let's take a look at the Predaking one. Beast Prime, Prime Bestial, Beast, that's just different languages, I guess. So that's an interesting little add-on, and it's quite big. I'll show you in size comparison how big this thing is. It's a fairly decent sized poster if you wanted to hang that up on your wall or put it behind Predaking when you've got them all combined. And here are the 5 of them all lined up to give you an idea of the height differences. I want to give a thank you to Narrowknack for pointing out that the fists of Predaking can actually be stored in his feet. So you don't have to just set them aside. You can pop these guns in on the shoulders of these guys, and they can hold the fists while they're either being armed, or when you have them in beast mode, the fists can also be stored there perfectly, nice and flat, and they sort of don't fall out. It's nice and tight in that one, but see, it's kind of falling out in that one, but that is in the instructions. I missed it, but thank you to Narrowknack for pointing that out. And they are about the same size, except for the 2 beefy guys right here, Headstrong and Tantrum. He's still Tantrum to me. are not just taller, but they're beefier. Rampage, Razor Claw, and Dive Bomb are just about the same height, but you can certainly see that the two legs got a lot more girth to them. Dive Bomb seems to be bigger than the others, but it's just an illusion because of his jetpack. This jetpack backpack is so big and wide, and then you've got the wings on top of that. It gives the illusion that he's bigger than he is. His core body is actually just about the same as Razor Claw. And it's interesting that Razor Claw, he's a little thicker looking than Rampage, but for being the leader of the group and the torso of the group, there aren't too many Transformers combiners with a torso that is on the smallish side. And I think he's lucky that Headstrong and Tantrum are so loyal, because if these two guys wanted to start a mutiny, I think they could easily take over the team. Whether they have the brains to do it is another question. So that's all of the Predacons in robot mode. Going to do a quick comparison of all of them in beast mode, animal mode, with each other. And luckily I've been practicing a bit, so the transformations are going to be a little bit quicker this time than they were in the in-depth individual videos. And there's Razor Claw, who is still one of the trickiest of the 5 to transform, because the tabs don't want to stay in, and these back flaps are kind of weird. But there's one of the 5. Let's do Rampage next. That out of the way. And that's Rampage in Tiger mode. At his tail. And 3 to go. Let's go with Dive Bomb. Guys out of the way. And Dive Bomb in Eagle mode. Open his mouth up a bit. Peekaboo. And let's add his guns on. One on the side here. And one there. And now Predaking's legs. Let's start with Headstrong. And that's Headstrong in Rhino mode. Fix his feet up a bit. And we can add one of his giant cannons on there, which attach like so. Wiggle that on there, and the fist is nicely stored up there. And finally, Tantrum. And that's no bull. I wish I had my Tito Santana figure handy, because it would be fun to do a little bit of Olay action with this guy, but he's kind of tucked in the back of the LJN collection. But let's plug this gun in here, take the fist, and it doesn't actually press in. If it did, it would be quite difficult to pull out. So it's nice that it just slides in. It fits perfectly. So there are the 5 Predacons in beast mode. And if you want to save a little bit of display space, you can actually perch Dive Bomb up on the backs of Tantrum and Headstrong. Their guns on their backs make for a nice flat surface, which you can wiggle a little bit. And he's still going to stay on there nice and sturdy. And I think they look awesome all together. Really cool to get all 5 of them all together in beast mode finally. And show you some of the size differences. It's hard to get these guns to sit level on these guys, but the bull, or Energon Buffalo, or whatever he is, definitely taller, bigger, thicker. Rampage is just like in robot mode. In beast mode, he's the smallest. He appears to be the smallest, most lithe of all of them. Razor Claw, he's kind of like he is in robot mode too. He's not big, he's not small. The Rhino looks big and powerful, and just like in robot mode, Dive bomb once again appears to be bigger than he actually is because of the huge wingspan that he has. So now that we have all 5 of the Predacons in beast mode, we can combine them into Predaking, and you can turn them into their components while they're in robot mode, but generally speaking, whether it's this Power of the Primes version or even the G1 versions, usually you want to start out in their alternate mode, because it's just a couple of flips and switches to get them from whatever their alt mode is into their limbs or body part mode. So let's start with the legs. I'm going to grab Tantrum first, remove the foot from the back, and the first thing you're going to want to do is flip the head up like so, and then you're going to want to turn it around because the rhino and the bull, their faces are showing when Predaking is in combined mode. And this thigh back here can flip all the way up. So here's a potential issue you might run into here. This thigh piece stops right there. Now I'm applying quite a bit of pressure here, and it's not going. And my spidey sense says if you force this, it will break. But I'm going to force it right now, and it goes. So on mine, it's incredibly tight. It doesn't feel like it should be able to do that without breaking. But there is a really good sturdy click in order to get this piece all the way up. You do have to exert quite a bit of pressure to get that up there. So the yellow piece on the thigh is going to go forward. That's pretty easy to figure out which way this goes. And if that's what you want to go by, I guess it sort of makes Tantrum, Torox, Predaking's left leg not interchangeable anymore because the thighs aren't removable. You might be able to do it the other way, but then you're stuck with these little tiny holes in the front, and it just won't look as good as the yellow. So unlike the G1 version, this guy is going to be assigned to a particular limb. Once you got that up, you can collapse his bull legs into these panels right here. You take the legs from bull mode, and remember that funky bicep bend that was so intriguing? Well, that's there so that you can collapse these legs. I guess it's there for a little bit of extra posability in beast mode, but I think it's mostly there for this part, to be able to tuck in these back there. They don't clip in or anything, but they are held fairly sturdy in there, in behind. And now you got to add the foot on. You have to pick the right foot though. So the way, it doesn't really matter who gets what foot when they're in robot mode or beast mode, but it is important to get the right foot in Predaking mode because of the ankle pivot. So you could get them the wrong way, but he's going to completely lose his ankle pivot. So that foot will go with that guy right there. This foot will go with this guy, and it's going to feed in there. In order to do that, you're going to separate this just a bit, and then inside here, these holes right here are going to connect to the pegs that are on either side of this foot. So very easy to line up. You can just use the bottom ones right down here into these holes. Just feed that in there, push it in, and it's pretty secure. Push in the other side, secure it snugly, and now Predaking, man, this guy's going to be huge, has his first leg assembled, and he's going to have crazy ankle pivot on this thing. So That's body part number 1. Number 2 is going to be the same thing with this guy. Head is going to turn around and then come forward. And you can do it in a different order if you want, but tuck these legs back, the thigh. Let's take a look and see if this is going to be just as tight on this guy. No, it's better on this guy. So there could be different tolerances on your set, because that's a lot easier than it was on Tantrum. Same thing with the rhino legs. Use that bicep bend in order to tuck the arms in behind, nice and neat. Do these move? They don't really need to. You want to make sure that these are secured in behind here, just as they were in beast mode. And now you're going to attach the foot, same way we did with Tantrum, and you just separate this a little bit in order to exact same connection. Push that in there, wiggle up and down. That's good and secure now. And then attach it the other way. You're pressing a whole bunch of different directions. You're pressing this way, you're pressing this way, everything just getting secured. Things are going to be popping out of place, so re-secure them. And that is Predaking leg number 2. And you're just going to make sure that the yellow part is turned to the front and then bent this way to form part of the waist. And the same deal on this one as well. That one is quite a bit tighter, but turn that in to form the rest of the waist. Next up is Predaking's left arm, Rampage, so we're going to remove the gun. And the first thing you want to do is take this backpack part, straighten it out like so, and secure this waist part as it was in robot mode. You're going to collapse in the tiger tootsies into the back here, and then these will swing out like they did when he was in robot mode. And the other tiger tootsies are going to swing out like this and flatten the tiger legs as much as possible. And it helps if you get this post clicked into there, flatten that like that, and click it into there as well. Once that's all done, you can point these things up, and then you want to push them up like this. They've got actually quite a bit of movement in here, but you're going to want them pushed up as much as possible on both sides. And you can secure the arms in to those holes on both sides so that it's not flopping around. That's how you know you're all the way to the top. And that's nice and secure. That's a really good hold on there. And then you'll take the backpack, and you see how it can bend this way. You're going to bend it out like that, and then you're going to turn it this way so that the hole is towards his feet. And then you're going to twist him at the waist like so, because the tiger head will be on the outside of the robot. It's on his shoulder kind of, and that gives him, this is Predaking's elbow bend right here. So you see this gap right in here after everything is connected? That's where this fist is going to feed into. So you just separate these two right here and you just feed this in here and it connects on both sides. You should still be able to connect Rampage's legs on the front and on the back, even with this thing in there. It's got a wrist swivel. Getting a little ahead of myself on articulation, but that's Predaking's left arm. And next up is his right arm. So we're going to remove the guns off of Dive Bomb. Got to get his backpack off. So in order to do that, you have to give it a good tug down. And it might feel really tight. Just try maybe wiggling it back and forth. But it does just slide in and out. Not a big deal. And that's going to be Predaking's backpack. And to get Dive Bomb into arm mode, you're going to take these Dive Bomb arms and swing them out like this. Just take this part right here and give it a push. Gotta figure out where to hold it by. There we go. That just swings in and out like that. And connects. And like with Rampage, you're going to want to twist him at the waist. This is the part that will attach to Razor Claw. Just slide in. And that is his elbow bend. So you take the other fist, and it connects the same way as it did with Rampage. Be sure that you don't get it backwards. And you just feed it in, kind of wiggle it around, and let it catch. And then push every which way. Got his little eagle claws on there. Secure the head, and that is Predaking's right arm. And Dive Bomb's backpack actually has a few steps to it as well. You don't just pop it on like on the G1 version. You're going to want to take the backpack and twist this part like so. And then inside here, you're going to want to swing these panels out. And this right here plugs into that hole right there on both sides. Like that. Give the tail feathers a twist. And then you take the wings and you're going to want to flip them like so. And you can move the wings all the way out too. And the last step is Razor Claw, the torso. Remove the gun. There's a little piece under Razor Claw right here, which extends his mane. So you can flip that up like that. And then careful with these. I hear they're very fragile. They can break off. But you're going to want to extend those like that. You can have the mouth open or closed for Predaking, whatever you want. To reveal Predaking's head, you have to separate the waist by just pulling, peekaboo, open like that, and that reveals the head of Predaking. Once you've got the head out, you can collapse this back the way it was when it was hiding Predaking's head, and close the head up, click it into place, flip these panels back like so. Clicking sounds are good. Lets you know that things are secured in there. There are holes right here and tabs right here, so you should be able to press on these corners right here to connect and secure him. It's not a very sturdy connection. It takes very little pressure to unhook, but it is connected in there. Tuck the legs in behind here, and you can use this post right here as a guide. It needs to plug into this hole right there. Same on the other side. Plug the post into the hole, and then the guns can be flipped out. You want to get these guns pointing forward, so to do that you need to flip them out, turn them up, and then secure them back into place to give Predaking a little more firepower. And then we got to clean up this mess in the back, so we'll just flip these panels shut on both sides and turn the lion feet up, forward as much as we can. These are going to kind of flop around as you try to connect everything. There, perfect. Now that we have all the limbs ready, we can take the backpack and those tail feathers that we turned around. This side of the tail feathers forms the front of the crotch. And this one's really easy to connect. You just take this gap right here and you slide it down onto one of the legs, and that is brilliant. I love that there isn't a peg to snap into, a post, something to break off, snap off. It just slides in, it clicks ever so slightly, but that's really sturdy. That's nice and snug, but to get it off, I don't think it actually takes that much pressure. Yeah, it doesn't. Just a bit of a pull to get it off. And that's Predaking's legs attached. And this guy is starting to get absolutely massive. Next we're going to attach Razor Claw, and this part right here slides into this part right here. Just make sure that this black part is up. It keeps wanting to flip down like that, which will mess up your connection point. Open that up there and feed the legs through this gap right here. I like to put the wings back. They tend to get in the way. And you have to sort of do this blind a little bit. But just feeding that in there. There's no way to get a good angle of this, so you just have to go by feel. And just for the sake of this video, it might help with the view if I move these lion arms out of the way, just so that we can actually see how this is supposed to, just like that. Just feeds in there all the way, and then there's a peg in there too, and this front black piece connects onto there. So now that that's in there, nice and secure, held really well. That is heavy, and it's being held perfectly fine. Let's try to feed these lion legs back into Predaking's waist here. And I had to slide them all the way off and put them back in because you can't just swing those in there. Let's secure these back parts. Move the wings up. And the wings attach to the back as well by way of this peg. This yellow peg plugs into this narrow black hole right here. This isn't a very secure connection. It's more of just a guide than an actual holding piece, but it tells you exactly what angle the wings are supposed to be on, since you can basically turn them to wherever you want, and what angle the back legs are supposed to be on, because they're kind of angled as well. So it's a nice guide to follow. The wings you can flip like that, and they were huge for Dive Bomb, but they're looking pretty tiny for Predaking. And luckily there is a third-party upgrade that might help with that. Now we've only got 2 limbs to attach. These should be very easy, and these just slide on the same way that the legs slid on. So right here is a gap, and right here is a similar to what was inside Razorclaw's chest connection point, which will just connect like so. Hook on the top, and be mindful of these. This is how these break. Exactly why that happens. And just hook it on, slide it down. I don't know if we get a click for this particular one. Doesn't sound like it. And then on the other side, same connection. We take this gap right here and slide it onto that part right here and slide it down. No click on there either, but it's really sturdy. I'm going to grab them by both arms and lift them. It's not sliding off. That's a really great friction joint. And now Predaking just needs his weapons. So you take Razorclaw's gun, you take Rampage's gun, and they just plug into each other. Like that. Giving Predaking a huge arm cannon, which on the original guy plugged into dive bomb, and it can again, just like that. And he also needs his shoulder cannons. So we take the 2 guns that came with dive bomb, and they have these parts right here that flip out, and that plugs into these holes on Razorclaw. So one there, and one there. And there's Predaking's shoulder cannons. So that is most of the iconic looks from the original G1 Predaking. He's got the gleaming wings. The shoulder cannons look fantastic. The arm cannon, the toe cannons, conspicuous by its absence, Predaking's sword. And that is an absolutely vital part of any Predaking. Not included with this set. No weapons that can combine to form a sword or a makeshift half-butted sword. But luckily, the 2 third-party upgrade kits that I'm going to be taking a look at in Part 7 and 8 will remedy that. You actually have your choice of 2 different upgrade swords, so we'll look at that in those later reviews. But let's take a look at this absolute behemoth. Power of the Primes Predaking. He is magnificent even without the third-party upgrades. Just humongous. And to give you a sense of the scale of this guy, here he is with G1 Predaking, who is just about as wide but nowhere near as tall as the new one. There you see the gun feet and the arm cannon, and the original Predaking had a little rinky-dink sword. And since I did this with all of the other videos, let's take the sword and see what it looks like in the hands of Power of the Primes Predaking. And if you thought those G1 swords looked tiny in the hands of those Predacons, that looks like a utility knife in the hands of Predaking. And one more size comparison I'm sure a lot of people are curious about. How does he measure up to Combiner Wars Devastator, which was last year's big series of doing individual reviews for each guy and then the third-party upgrades? They're exactly the same height. That's awesome. One thing that really confused me was Trypticon being smaller than some of these other Titan class Transformers. So really awesome, the 2 of these guys. If you can find a shelf big enough to hold both of these guys. They are exactly the same size, same kind of girth, same width. Predaking definitely a little thinner. He's got that hourglass figure, but the upgrade will be fixing that. What do you say we take a look at this guy's articulation? Holy smokes, this guy's huge. So the shoulders are ratcheted, and they do move up quite a bit. He's got a lot of range in the shoulders. Surprising. And the ratchets definitely help. And what also helps is the dive bomb's head can move all over the place. It can get out of the way. And he's also got a twist in the elbows, and the elbow bend is not much. If you try to bend it too much, the forearms tend to split open and the fists pop out. So same range in the elbows on both sides. And a little bit going back. The wings do get in the way a little bit. He does have a waist twist. He's got a full waist twist. He can go 360. And for the head, it moves a little left and right. That's the range. It just stops. I guess you can look up, but when you do that, it exposes a gap in the chest. So he's best off just not looking up, and there is no down view either on this guy. The fists are pretty good, even though there are some upgrades that are even better. There is a wrist twist, and the hands do open up. All the fingers are joined. The thumb is locked in place, but that's not bad. It could have just been a big block of solid plastic with a hole in it. So you get a little bit of range there, a little punching action, or you can hold things. You can, I don't know, take a headmaster and grip a guy in his hand or something. And the legs, oh boy, I hope he doesn't fall apart here. Can he do the splits? Oh my god. Yes, yes he can. I think I need to get Fortress Maximus and Metroplex out here, because this guy's going to need more than trucks to do the splits on. He's going to need cities, battle stations. That is, oh, that's going to probably need surgery. Holy smokes, I can't believe this guy can do the full splits. That's just madness. And speaking of madness, can he do the Spartan kick? This is not advisable if you've got a Predaking and you're playing around with him. I would not advise doing this, but I'm always curious about the Spartan kick, and especially since this guy has ratcheting joints. Oh my god, this guy can actually do a ginormous Predaking Spartan kick. That is incredible. Those are some sturdy joints, and that is really, really nice to see, because the problem with these giants is if you've got them up on a shelf or on a bookshelf, a dresser, when they fall, that's all she wrote. Most of the time, it's just too much weight and impact. Something breaks. And if this guy is this sturdy on one leg, then I'm thinking he's probably going to be pretty safe if he's just up on a shelf without anything securing him. And if Mumbo Jumbo was thinking he was going to get some revenge,
this is Sparta!
Not today, buddy. There's a thigh swivel, which is very important for being able to get his feet to sit flat. Knee articulation is interesting. You need to move these bull and rhino arms out of the way, and once you do, he does have really good articulation, like he's setting up for a soccer kick, but that doesn't happen until you move those out of the way. And the final point of articulation is in the ankles, And since he's able to do such a wide-legged stance, it's a good thing the ankles have such a wide tilt to them. This guy is super sturdy. It's really tough to knock him over. He's one of the sturdiest Transformers giants I've seen, and it's especially impressive because he's a combiner. And so many times the combiners just fall right apart. But this guy, look at this. No problems whatsoever. Giving this thing a really good shake. And he's super sturdy. And he does have a couple of sticker applications. So let's do the final sticker applications for Power of the Primes Predaking. And that is it. All stickers applied. And they do help a little bit. I especially love the forehead sticker on him. Really reflects the light quite nicely. The little shoulder sticker for Dive Bomb doesn't really do much. The waist, golden waist stickers add a little bit of shine. But the real highlight of Predaking's sticker set is the feet stickers. Need a little bit of chrome style stickers on the feet and some more shiny stuff on the front here. I think he looks fantastic. I think his posability is incredible. I love the ratcheting joints to make sure that he's nice and secure and isn't going to fall over. The biggest complaint I have is the waist being a little too thin, so I'm really looking forward to that upgrade set. The legs are exceptional. They're incredibly sturdy. The arms are too. Seems like he can probably hold a good sized sword, a nice heavy sword. And it's also good that this arm, one of the problems with Transformers with arm cannons on them is when they can't hold up the weight of their own arm. Tantrum and Headstrong had that same problem when they were trying to hold their cannons in their hands. So that arm is nice and sturdy. Super nice looking figure. There is so much going on with this guy that I think the biggest challenge with him is making sure that everything is where it's supposed to be, because pieces are going to want to pop out of place, like back here. These feet are wanting to pop out. Get these wings back in where they're supposed to be and clipped on the other side. I also noticed down here these little things are wanting to spin out sometimes. So there's a lot of stuff to keep an eye on. These will move out of the way or bend back too far or too forward. So if you're doing a photo shoot with this guy, there are a lot of things to keep an eye on to make sure that he's put together the way he's supposed to be. And because I didn't get a chance to check out the Matrix style chest compartment on Razor Claw, let's pop it open for Predaking. Lion face pops open, and there's Predaking with his own little Decepticon matrix of leadership, hidden by the lion head. That's Power of the Primes Predaking in his combined form. And I think as awesome as the individual members are, the sum is greater than the parts. He is spectacular. Love how the gold gleams on him. Even without any upgrades, I think he's fantastic. But he's about to get a little bit better because we've got some upgrade sets, 2 different choices of swords, and a bunch of other additions for Predaking, as well as the individual Predacons, and remedying that sword issue. Each one of them is going to get their own sword, along with the big guy getting his own sword too. Thanks as always to the Patreon tribe for providing the channel Patreon power. Thank you Jason Pravat for the extra energon and the awesome chat last week. And a shout out to the top 10 all-time contributors on Patreon. Scott Orr, Eric Lutz, Shane O, Iron Lords Podcast, Cameron Johnson, David Wendt, Joe, Nicholas Stephen, Nick Filippelli, and Andrew Culver. Thank you so much for your generosity and support, good brothers. Thanks for watching. Feel free to share a Predacon thought in the comment spot and to join the tribe. Obliterate, subscribe. Nerdmaste.